Welcome to the Northampton Housing Partnership. It's the first Monday of every month. Uh, we are remote right now. And so if you want to come to this meeting, you go to the Northampton City Civic Engage calendar and you can download the agenda 48 hours before the meeting begins. The City of Northampton does not discriminate based on disability and is committed to hosting accessible meetings. To request a reasonable accommodation to attend any city meeting, please contact the ADA coordinator at adacoordinator@northamptonma.gov. Or you can also call 413-587-1288. And so with that, I will give a notice to everybody that this meeting is being recorded. And I will now take a roll call. Bev Bates,
Here.
Richard Abuza,
Here.
Gordon Shaw,
Here.
Ben Wood,
Present.
Gwen Nabad, here. And with that, I don't know if there's anybody who's coming on to the housing partnership that's here tonight who wants to let us know if they're present or not. Better go back to my screen. Okay. Okay. And so now we'll move on to public comment. Any public comments for tonight? People can raise their hands, actually raise their hands, or their mechanical hands. No. Okay. With that, I will move on to the next item, which is the minutes from November 3rd, 2025. Has anyone had an opportunity to look at those?
I have, and I'm happy to make a motion to approve them.
I'll
Okay.
second.
All right, with that, I will take a roll call on that. Gordon Shaw,
I agree to approve them.
okay. Ben Wood,
Yes.
Bev Bates,
Yes.
Richard Abuza,
Yes.
Gwen Nabad, yes. And so those minutes from November 3rd, 2025 pass unanimously. And so on to the next thing is to discuss the recent report from Strong Towns. And I believe members of Strong Towns are here tonight to discuss their findings. And so I will pass the piece.
Okay. I have a slide, so I'm going to share my. Would you
Okay,
enable that if possible?
I think Keith can do that.
Yes, you should be co-host too.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay. Here we go. How does that look to everyone? Good?
It's great.
Okay. So, hello, yes. I'm going to present on the housing progress report that Strong Towns Northampton has been putting together. I'm Elena Roby. I've been interning with Strong Towns Northampton since the summer, and I'm also a Smith student. And so I've done majority of the work preparing this report, which is currently over 30 pages. It's still in a draft form, but we're hoping to wrap it up into a final version that will be officially sent out in the next month or so or less. But today is just to share an overview of what's in that report, celebrating the achievements of the city related to housing, and then also recommending some next steps or areas of focus going forward. And as you all probably know, the goals that are outlined in the 2021 Sustainable Northampton Comprehensive Plan are 3 goals. The first is to create new housing. Second is to preserve and sustain existing affordable housing. And the third goal is to work to end homelessness. So Strong Town's focus is definitely more around goal 1, creating new housing. But of course, all of these are interconnected and important to look at. So they're all included in the report, but definitely the most work was around goal 1, specifically related to zoning changes and the affordable projects that have happened in the last few years with support of the city. So to share more about where Northampton is making progress. Again, you're probably deeply familiar with all of these things, being in the housing partnership. But a big area of success is that the city provides seed or leverage funding for every affordable housing project that applies to the city, for both CPA and CDBG funding. And since 2021, the city has supported the creation of, at this point, I think over 282 new affordable housing units. And also the city supports social service nonprofits locally with funding, with CDBG funds. And then also the Division of Community Care and the Community Resilience Hub are 2 recent projects that are related to homelessness and housing that are great points of progress. And then regarding recent zoning changes, the city has eliminated single-family home-only districts across the city, allowed detached and attached ADUs permitted by right in the whole city, allowed half-scale units in all residential zones as a form of a density bonus, encouraging people to build smaller homes. And the city has also eliminated minimum size requirements for houses or any units. Also allowed 2-family homes by right, reduced or eliminated parking requirements in residential areas, created a 250% density bonus for projects with at least 50% affordable units, reduced lot lines for smaller setbacks on individual lots, and most recently permitted residential conversion of existing historic structures. So the remaining challenges are, of course, the continuing cost of housing, the cost of housing continues to rise, and also the construction costs are very high, especially post-COVID. And housing is still needed at all income levels to prevent competition over the limited housing stock. And according to Wayfinders and UMass Donahue Institute, their report earlier this year that 16,766 housing units are needed in Western Mass to meet the expected demand in 2035. So a lot of need in the next 10 years. And also limited subsidy funding for affordable housing. Always a need for new funding sources. And yeah, the local housing market in Northampton is just experiencing a lot of pressure right now. And also developers of for sale units are not building smaller starter home options. There's very few options for affordable home ownership. Yes. So what we have sort of identified as where housing partnership can come in and help or kind of advocate towards the city of what are next steps of things we can do, is to encourage and explore innovative or non-traditional affordable housing options, such as finance assistance programs, to help homeowners build ADUs, and also density bonuses for small ownership units. And also further reducing minimum lot sizes to allow for smaller homes on smaller lots than is currently allowed. And adopt pre-approved housing plans with simplified zoning review procedures for small ADUs. So again, making it simpler for people to create ADUs. And community education around the importance of affordable housing generally, but also, again, how to create ADUs and or convert single family homes into multifamily. And also the Just Big Enough competition in 2018. I came across that in preparing this report, and I feel like hosting competitions and funding opportunities like this for sustainable, affordable home design is a really great idea. And then also prioritizing the development of new SRO units, always needed. And prioritizing also housing rehabilitation programs. And an idea we also had was partnering with the Northampton Housing Authority to encourage the development of new affordable units. I know the city is separate from the Housing Authority, but if there could be some sort of partnership there, that could be potentially great. And also to further study the effects of the proposed rent control measures. I think a lot of people in the city would like to see rent control, and but we just need to make sure that that's actually a feasible and helpful decision for Northampton specifically. And then these are just sort of lots of questions that I still had at the end, or like as I'm wrapping up this report, that I just thought were good things to be on the housing partnership members' minds. And I'm sure they already are, many of them, but just sort of writing them all out of how can we ensure that housing is built for those at all income levels? How do we ensure that housing rehabilitation programs are funded consistently? And then also, why are nonprofit and for-profit developers not really taking advantage of these new density bonuses that have passed in the last few years? And also, again, what can community education look like? Who's in charge of that? And then also a larger question, a very controversial question of should Northampton be building new public housing, or is that just not an effective approach right now? And also the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is something that came up in the objectives in the sustainability report. So is this something that Northampton should be looking at again and pick up again? And also, questions of preserving affordability. That's one of the objectives very clearly outlined in the report, or in the sustainability plan, and sort of what policies or actions have actually been taken towards preserving affordability. And finally, just creating a climate of support within the city government to preserve market rate affordable. Again, this was something that was outlined as an objective, and it seems to sort of have not tangibly happened yet. So based on these questions, I still had, after compiling this report, I've sort of identified the objectives that I felt had not been addressed at all, or not fully addressed, or needed more attention. So I won't read them all out, but you can see them. But it's a huge variety, from ones related to creating new housing and also preserving existing housing as affordable, of course. So yeah, I think that was it. I can leave this up, but yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of information. I'm sure it's a lot of things that you all are already thinking about, but hopefully the report can be a resource for the city, you all, anyone in the public that cares about housing and affordable housing. And hopefully having it all written out is helpful and in planning future steps to help meet all of those goals and objectives outlined in the sustainability plan. Yeah, I think that's all I have.
Great. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Gordon.
So sorry, I just want to start by asking for a little bit of historical context, and I'm sorry if I should know this by now, but just who is Strong Towns and who's responsible for the report? But let me also just say the report's impressive. The objectives are very sound. They sound like the ones we should be focusing on. So I think highly of it, but I just want to understand a little better where this is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, George or Danny, do you want to speak more to that? Because I only joined this summer. Yeah.
Sure. Can folks hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Gordon, Strong Towns is a national kind of movement, so to speak, that really tries to build up from the ground citizens who want to work on in their communities around mobility issues, housing issues, transportation, things of that nature. And there are chapters all across the country. About 2 years ago, Danny McCann, who's in the meeting here, she started a local chapter that meets monthly and just tries to recruit people who are interested in helping out on some of these initiatives. So, because of the focus on housing, we've worked with Elena and some other interns to dig a little bit deeper into some of the success that the cities have. We've done the similar thing with Smith interns around some of the transportation issues that were risen in the 2021 sustainability plan also. Strong Towns is not a nonprofit at this point, the local chapter that does any fundraising. We don't have paid staff. We meet monthly and it's open to the public at the Northampton Police Station in the community room there. We've had a lot of conversations with city staff, Carolyn Miss, the mayor's come by. We're trying to work closely with the Department of Public Works as they initiate large street projects to make sure that they get input from bicyclists and pedestrians and people who aren't always just in a car. The housing report was started earlier on before Elena's time as an intern. A couple of others dug deep into it. I know they interviewed Keith a little bit around the CDBG funds. They interviewed other people to try to get a handle on exactly what have been the specifics of the city's actions. And I think the report outlines in a nice way the various zoning amendments and zoning revisions that the city has taken on in order to try to meet some of these objectives. I happen to be on the planning board, so I often scratch my head myself as to what the city has done in terms of the zoning regulations to make things easier and yet better and efficient for developers as we try to, increase the housing stock and the variety of housing here. So that's a quick little snapshot of Strong Towns, Northampton. It's not a communist plot at all to take over the city. We're really just trying to work hand in hand and promote some of the wonderful things that the city's already doing.
Thank you.
That was great. Thanks, George.
Thank you so much. You have anything to add, Danny?
Oh, I mean, that's a pretty good coverage. We have a number of members who are interested in housing issues. We don't really have a very well formed housing subgroup yet. We have like a really well formed mobility team that's been very advocacy focused on alternative transportation. But we do have a lot of people who are interested in housing issues, and I think want to figure out how they can help.
Yeah.
So, as a citizen organization, so this is a nice first step for us to kind of get our heads around what the city at least wanted to do and what it has done and what else it might be doing and then within that context I think our members can hopefully start talking about what we can be doing to help as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Um, I will say, oh, go ahead, Ben.
Well, I have a couple of thoughts and also some questions. First of all, this is incredibly helpful to see, and I read the Google Doc report prior to the meeting too, so um, was already thinking about it, but it was good to hear, Elena, your sort of points of emphasis. One researchy question, and then one sort of background Northampton city government question for people who might know. The researchy question is, we've talked about this as the Northampton Housing Partnership before, but curious in your work, um, really what the sort of the state of research is around um, this sort of key question of are we building um, is it really just a matter of building more housing, no matter what the housing, who the housing is for at all income levels? Is that really a key strategy to just try to reduce pressure in the housing system? And should the Northampton Housing Partnership be in favor of all development, because all development might eventually trickle down to more affordability. I guess that's like a key like research sheet question to see if you have um, any ideas around. And then the Northampton city government question is, have we ever tried, has the city tried that like a 0% financing type of approach before for things like say ADUs, like the state has with the HMLP, the Home Modification Loan Program? Is there something that the city has done locally that is sort of in a similar vein as that state program?
I can answer your last question. No, we have not.
Um, well, if I could just respond a little bit, but I think the solution to the housing crisis is, um, it's like there's a lot of different things that are needed all at once. And I think that, supply is a big one. We can't do anything without supply. But I think that we need to think about how our economy is right now, how might project our economy to be, what we might have for needs in the community. Um, we can kind of get a clue. For example, the most recent um lottery at Bridge Road was 4,600 applicants, and only I think 80 or so got housed. So there's definitely a need for it. I mean, I think they opened it up. It could have been applications from across the state. I don't know the details of where all these applications came from for the lottery, but um, I think the original role of the housing partnership is always it's to support housing, of course, but I agree with like a lot of what you said in terms of supporting smaller landlords, being more friendly with smaller landlords and making it more friendly for smaller landlords and more affordable. Because if the rent stabilization thing goes through, small landlords can raise the rent a lot. There's no limitations on 4 apartments or less. So they don't count. And I think also like smaller, which is good. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a great thing. But at the same time, I also see a need I meet a lot of landlords who wish that they could have more support in terms of improving their properties and keeping them up to code and, having updated, systems and access, maybe accessibility to some of the climate stuff like mini splits or whatever. I know there is programming out there, but it's just a matter of like education. I think, like you said, like educating the community in terms of what programs are out there, educating community in terms of like, you know, the process of applying for a lottery and telling people where to go and making it accessible as possible for everyone. But So that's what I have to say now, and I agree about the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for the reason that um when we did some research on this, we learned that the trust fund um can accept monies that the CBC can't or the CPA doesn't. So um that would be one thing that would be of benefit to revive that trust. And I'm gonna just let George go. Sorry, George.
No, that's
I
quite
had
all
to
right,
get it
Gwen.
in there. I had to get it in.
Thank you very much, Gwen. No, that was good. So yeah, just to respond a little bit to Ben's good question on the researchy thing, it is kind of the common sentiment or the game plan now, I think, in the planning office and the city is that all development is good development. The verdict is out, I think, in terms of real data on what's happening in communities where there is such uh, the continuum of housing is either affordable housing on one end, like we've seen at the nursing home on Bridge Road, that Wayfinders has done at Lumberyard and Live 155, and the other ones that are in the pipeline. And yet, what the planning board is seeing on the other end is single family homes that are going in the range of $800,000 and up. So we do have a paucity of things in the middle for sure. I think the hope is that there's a turnover of housing as more housing is built. People move out of one house and move up the ladder a bit and purchase something else. They might leave a condo. I often say that condos like at Damon Road and at Yankee Hill in Leeds, those are the new starter homes at $250,000. That's where families start because it's so hard to find a small individual home on a small lot.
Mhm.
So I do think in terms of research, more work has to be done to see if housing built at the upper end of the ladder is really helping to promote a range of housing. Right now, private developers are leery of building homes that they're going to market at $400,000 because of construction costs, because of land costs, and they need to get a return on their investment. I think Danny McCann herself is a small developer, so you might want to, take a bite at that for a minute too. But no, that's a very good question, and that's one of the dilemmas not only in Northampton but across the country in terms of the housing mix, so to speak. Thanks.
Thanks, George. Go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, so I wanted to offer some constructive feedback on Objective 5, which is the develop ways to sustain and build an affordable housing trust fund. When you started to mention this, but I wanted to expand on this a little bit more. We've been talking about revitalizing this trust fund for many, many years in the partnership. And my constructive feedback is that while the city is not a fan of this idea, I don't agree with the summary that you've written here. I mean, it's not true that I don't accept the notion that it would actually be duplicative and or be another barrier for. In fact, it's the exact opposite of what it would do if we were to fund it. For example, funding of trust funds can take money from other sources, not CPA money. But so, other funding mechanisms the city could consider, which could be included in this plan, include things like if that transfer tax goes through, the ability to opt in, that would be a way to see this. That would be a transfer on the sale of high value properties. There'd be an additional tax that would seed affordable housing. Also on short-term rentals, you could put a tax in for that. So we're talking about Airbnbs that are taking units away from rentals. That would be another way to put money into the trust fund. And of course, it would be and I don't think there's not enough money. So the more money and more revenue streams we can create, I think would be a boost to developers looking for ways to start these projects. Instead of having to, it'd be another pool of money they'd have to access, but I don't think the barriers would be that great if they had a trust fund as an additional option to the CPA and other state funding mechanisms.
I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate that. And to clarify that response that is included in the report currently is based on what I heard from Carolyn Mish.
Sure.
So, and I didn't have any expertise myself, so I appreciate that, and I'll definitely look into changing it.
Yeah. Is everybody else hearing an echo?
Yeah, totally.
Those who are not speaking could mute their mics. I think it would help. It might be Danny's. I think that's.
Okay, go ahead, Bev.
I just want to echo the view that the report is great, and it's great for a number of reasons. But one, to me, is that it's provocative, and so I have a question. And essentially, what of the topics did you find to be most sort of, Northampton's not a place where we do contentious, but I'll use the word contentious, meaning where there was, lively debate about the pros and cons. We've all identified the Affordable Housing Trust fund is one that maybe isn't contentious, but that a lot of people have been working on for a long time, and we haven't seemed to make any progress, which is frustrating. I share all of what Gordon said about the wisdom of reinvigorating the trust, but are there others that you thought, reasonable people are reasonably disagreeing a lot on these topics?
I'm struggling. I feel like there's definitely a lot of examples of where people have differing opinions. I will say that a lot of my information on the first sweep was whatever I could get from the response from the city. And then so it's interesting to hear like people within strong towns then sort of disagreeing with whatever it is that I've found, or suggesting ways to push it further or another approach. I'm trying to think of more specific examples.
Well, please don't feel the need to kind of dredge some up, but in my experience, both on the partnership and elsewhere in town since I moved back, is I don't know where the forums are for effective debate about things that are controversial. And maybe all that happens at city council or at planning board or whatever, but there might, be other venues where we could actually roll up the sleeves and discuss, and then know that the people who are in leadership positions are going to listen. Having said that, there's a couple of issues on my brain. I think that in my experience, the notion that all housing is good housing is a great sounding idea, but all housing, as we've experienced, is not always great housing. We all have different opinions about what constitutes great housing. There's a certain development that's happening on a certain historic property in town very shortly that I'm not sure is going to be great housing, but that's Bev's view. But having said that, the problem with that view is that in most places, most of the time, those who are building market rate housing can outbid those who are doing mixed income housing or affordable housing. And so if land is a limited resource, I think the city needs to say, X number of units are going to get built, and inclusionary zoning is one way, strong messaging of inclusionary zoning, meaning set asides for affordable, is a way to say, if you want to build here, you build some affordable. The other piece that's semi-related to that is scale can make the difference for any developer, including nonprofit developers, ability to produce. There are so many economies that come with scale, whether it's construction costs or amortizing the land cost or amortizing just the cost for the developer of putting the deal together. Property management costs are so much affected by the scale of what you're building. And I wonder if there doesn't need to be more of a look at encouraging strategic scale by promoting certain lots that are appropriate for strategic scale. That happened a little bit, I think, with the Hall of Records site. And I think we all know of other sites along King Street where that might also make a lot of sense. But that's an area, in my view, where city leadership, from beginning to end, is an important variable in making sure that those properties don't just go to the highest bidder. So I realized that was a little bit speech and a little bit hopefully expanding the conversation about your report. But I'm wondering if anybody talked about scale as an issue, because in a small community like Northampton, scale can be scary.
Yeah, I will say the sense I've got, also inclusionary zoning is interesting. You mentioned that. I feel like that is also another point where people disagree about whether or not it's the best course of action. And I will say, I feel, and Danny or George, correct me, that a lot of people within strong towns are concerned about more this promoting smaller scale of like converting single family homes into multi-family, and small extensions, ADUs, etc. Like that seems to be the personal interests of a good amount of the people currently involved with strong towns. And I guess that smaller scale is easier to work on, like as citizen volunteers or whatever, you know what I mean? Or on a more practical level, the everyday person is more likely to engage with housing in that way. So, and it definitely desires for education, public education, community education around those topics, because it seems like things that everyday people can really have an impact on, like if someone wants to convert their home. So yeah, I don't know, Danny or George, if you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I think that Bev was going in the opposite direction as far as strategic scale and saying, correct me if I'm wrong, Bev, but saying, let's identify the sites that are available still for development that are the most, promising for larger scale, and see if, as a city, we can push those forward. Maybe the King Street lot that was the site of the contentious proposal for an auto dealership being one of them, and I'm sure that there's others, and that does seem like a really good strategy to highlight. And there is some work that citizens can do on that. They can, push elected officials to move those things forward. They can speak in favor of them. It's not that we can do nothing on larger scale projects. It's just that they're larger and therefore more difficult to push forward, and the timelines are longer. But citizens can certainly help work on those things, as the housing partnership and the city can as well. And in answer to your question, Bev, literally everything in this report is contentious. So, and the Strong Towns monthly meetings is a place where, when we are doing housing projects, these conversations do come up. We have members on both sides of both, yeah, and everywhere in the middle, as far as the Phillips Place development, and whether the scale and height are appropriate in Central Business Side District, and how parking is being dealt with on the first floors of these downtown developments. Density, obviously, reducing requirements to allow for more density in the residential districts is a big point that is under discussion a lot of the time, and what the city is ready for and what is appropriate where. Rent control has people all over the place on that, talking about not whether it's well intentioned, but whether it's going to do what it is intended to try to do, or have unintended impacts that are actually counterproductive. But there are plenty of people as well within our membership who are very much in favor of the various rent control provisions. So we're hearing it all. As far as the Affordable Housing Trust Fund goes, we have talked less about that, but a little bit, and there has been some discussion. It seems like the conversation around, well, two things, but it seems like the conversation in this country around publicly built housing is starting to shift a little bit, and people are starting to think about building public housing again. So that has sort of come up. And I agree with the comments that were made earlier, and I'm sure others do too, that CPA is very limited. It's only one source, and clearly it's not enough. If it were enough, we'd have enough affordable housing. So, we can use more money and another source. I probably missed things here, but pretty much everything related to housing is contentious. But I think those are kind of the big ones that we've seen.
Thank you. That was very helpful. Maybe I'll show up at one of your meetings.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
There was something I just really quick before I move on. There was in terms of like the idea of, well, we should just build all housing. But even these affordable housing communities that we're building go up to 120% of AMI. I mean, that's that's like the everyday Joe, or just that's just in other words, so even out of those builds, it's not all just 30% at 30% or below. So, I just wanted to point that out. So go ahead, Richard.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate the work you did on this report. I think it's good to see it in this format that touches on a lot of the issues that we've been dealing with. And I know it's been mentioned, but I want to emphasize the one piece that I think is the precursor one, which is the public education, because the actual production of housing, as we all know, is very complicated and has a lot of facets of it. And community support and community acceptance and prioritization within city government of various pieces of this are critical. And, you've got a group here and your group who all are immersed in housing issues, but it's going to be critical to have the broader community understand, everybody hears that, we've got a housing crisis, but it feels like something that is inaccessible and we can't do anything about and whatever. So we have at various points in our history had pretty productive community education outreaches, but I think it is a precursor piece to setting the table for a lot of the things that we want to do. And I think that's also something that conceivably we can work together with. And, maybe we can get pressure to move city government to permit us to revive our housing trust fund and all these other important things. So thanks and good work.
Thanks, Richard. George?
So, Richard, thank you. You stole my thunder a little bit because Bev had mentioned about just that. How do we have these community dialogues with folks, so we can kind of come down from some of the misconceptions about housing and start to understand the realities of it. Many of us participated in a forum that was co-led by the Housing Partnership this past September, I think, that was held at City Hall. And there was a rep from Wayfinders, and there was a private developer, and I think Valley CDC was there, and it was really, really helpful. It wasn't a huge discussion per se, but it was great to hear those different perspectives. We would at Strong Towns uh, be more than willing to work with the Housing Partnership to logistically kind of organize a few of those, whether it's in different wards, perhaps at the grammar schools. But I think that would be a great way to get at it. And certainly what we've heard during the last election, as folks want to engage more in these discussions, well, we need to put their feet to the fire and hold these things and ask them to attend. So yeah, I think you can count us in as helping to support those community dialogues. That's just what we want to try to do. And I appreciate just by you allowing us to come here today and giving a glimpse into this report is really helpful. We're trying to do the same with other citizen committees in town, like the Bike and Ped Committee and the Transportation and Parking Committee. So it's all the step in the right direction. So thanks for your support. And Elena, good job, woman.
Thank you. I'm
Absolutely.
glad
Great
it's
job.
appreciated, or I'm glad it will
Great
be
job.
helpful.
And I really appreciated like the questions, because like for me, like I get so caught up in like trying to like go with the state and the state legislation and how can we make it better for the local, so that's what a lot of sometimes what I get stuck on, but I really like the way you sort of took it down. You took it right down to the root there, and I really appreciate that with the questions that you posed at the end. Um, does anybody else have any questions for Elena or anyone? All right, well, thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate it. Um, and also, go ahead, George.
One last comment. I probably should have done this at the public comment period, but Gwen, this must be your last meeting at the Housing Partnership. So I live in Ward 1. Gwen is my new city councilor. I
Okay,
want to thank you very much for all the years that you put into the Housing Partnership and look forward to seeing you on the city council carrying this kind of housing banner with you. So that's
right.
going to be great.
Great.
So
Thank you
thank you
so
very
much,
much.
George. Thank you. Okay. With that, I guess we will conclude the time of, oh, go ahead, Ben.
I guess the question for the partnership is this report an opportunity for us to do something sort of concrete and tangible with it, like a response to the report or something like that from the Northampton Housing Partnership with the things that we think are the, those places of emphasis that we want to focus on over the course of the year, or um, pieces of the report that we think we need more information about to do more research on, or it seems to me like this is a great tool. And I know that we have sometimes been challenged with figuring out where our points of action can be, and maybe this is a good impetus for us to choose what we want to be prioritizing on.
Okay. Um, Well, it is ultimately going to be up to you guys what you want to do with this report. Um, if it were me, I would like take maybe, anywhere from 1 to 3 of these questions at a time. Give one out to each person and let them work on these things and then come back with some ideas. And take it from there. I mean, there's some stuff, you know, such as the housing trust fund that I don't think we're going to get any fast answers to, but I really think that, what Gordon had to say is important, in terms of, the importance of it and not being a lot of extra work. So maybe finding a way to sort of ratchet up the pressure a little bit or on that kind of stuff, or yeah. And
If I may interject, if you do want to put something like that together, we could not only incorporate it in, but we could sort of append it in its entirety to the report as well.
okay, awesome. Awesome citizens we have in our city. Um,
You're
okay,
done,
go ahead.
Elena, or somebody. When is the report going to be completely finished?
That's the question. I mean, I think I'm gonna stop working on it at the end of this semester because I'm gonna be going abroad. So I think the hope was to finish it up by December, the end of December. But there's some what's holding us back from saying we're fully finished is that there's some comments that Strong Towns members have left, like further ponderings on what's already there that we kind of want to flush out without making it a super, super, it's already super long. But anyway,
Yeah.
yes, Danny, would you agree the general answer is end of the year?
Yeah, it might float a little bit into the new year as Eleanor will be done, but the membership will pick it up to finalize it and get it out there. We'll do some kind of a press release eventually, January, February, but we're trying to wrap it up.
Okay. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think even the feedback that we received tonight from the housing partner will help inform some of our recommendations and some of the notations in there. We haven't talked about the press report, but that was in the idea. We want to make sure the mayor gets to see this and the Office of Planning and Development and Planning and Sustainability and others. And I think it's just a wonderful idea to think that you folks may take on a few of these objectives and carry them through as a bit of your work plan in 2026. And we would be more than happy in any way that we can support it. We're also going to be on the planning board's agenda, I hope, to discuss this plan because that's where a lot of this hits the road too. So hopefully we'll get the same kind of reception at the planning board that you've given us tonight.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Well, I'm going to go.
Okay, thanks, George. Bye-bye. Have a good night. Okay. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Elena. And we will
Thank you.
move on to our next item, which is membership and elections. This is a discussion and whatever comes out of it. As many of you know, I got elected to be Ward 1 City Councilor. So I won't be continuing on in my role here as the chair. I did find out through from Solicitor Seawall, is that right? That I could stay on the partnership if I wanted to, but I haven't had that discussion with him yet about the ins and outs of that. But I definitely know that I can't be the chair. So I wouldn't exactly call tonight a resignation per se until I've had an opportunity to talk to Attorney Seawall. But at the same time, I'm hoping tonight that we can sort of decide who wants to step into an alternative role or what you guys want to do. Go ahead, Richard.
FYI, our original charter called specifically for a city council member to be on, and through the history of the partnership, there have been many long stretches where there has been a city council member on, and it has been extraordinarily helpful when that
Okay,
happens. So I would welcome your participation.
okay. That's good to know. Thank you. Anybody else?
First of all, Gwen, congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations. I
Haven't been able to see you, so congrats.
Thank you.
I don't know, I totally agree. I think that if there's a that if that's that has been past precedent and it's appropriate, having that direct conduit just makes things feel a little bit more real, and potentially impactful. So
Sure.
um, don't want to pressure you, but if that was something that
Right.
yeah.
Thanks.
The Disability Commission also has a city council representative as well.
What was that, Keith?
The Disability Commission, they also have a city council representative as well.
Yes, they do. They do. And we've talked about this, like, how maybe more meaningful it could be if we continued on with the city councilor on the partnership. And I'm happy to hang out for a while. So um, I'll just figure it out from Alan, like what the details are, or Gordon, if you know anything, or I don't know. But I'm happy to keep coming. So um now I don't know if Bev is still here. Yes, she is. Okay, because I don't think that I should stay the chair. I think that would be a little bit overwhelming. So like normally, like if I were to resign, then Bev would automatically become the chair. And then you guys would need a new vice chair. Or how does this work, Keith?
Well, I mean, if we could, do call for nominations for if Bev wants to go up to the chair, then I guess we could, do nominations for vice chair. We do nominations for both positions. I think that's appropriate at this point.
Bev is happy to serve if that is productive and useful for others, but if there's somebody else who's jonesing for the job, Bev certainly doesn't need to do other than support that person.
Go ahead, Richard.
I think Bev would be a fabulous chair, and I nominate her and give her my wholehearted support.
All right.
Oh, Richard.
Yeah.
I second that.
All
Thanks,
right.
Deb, for
If you need a
for
third vote,
choosing.
here I am.
All right. Terrific.
I-
Thank
I mean,
you.
most of these elections have usually been by consensus, so
Yes.
it's just
Yeah,
usually
so
just-
we don't have to, do we have to do a roll, or do we have to do a
we can
roll?
take an official vote, but it's usually we
Okay.
just agree on something.
Okay, well,
Yes.
all right. So I myself, even though I'm the chair, I would like to nominate Deb myself. So I'll take a roll call on that. And so let's see, Richard Abuza,
Yes.
Gordon Shaw,
Yes.
Ben Wood,
Yes.
Gwen Abad, yes, Bev Bates.
Seems odd, but yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations.
All right,
Well, thank you all.
congratulations, the new
And thank
chair.
you, Gwen, for
Yeah.
doing a great job for all this long interval.
Thank you
Amen.
so much. It's been an
Yeah.
adventure so far.
And,
Um,
And if
I
you
know
can
that.
It'll
find
only
the
get better
time
from
to
here.
stay on, I think it would be great.
Right,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, now, does anyone want to be nominated for, vice chair? Is there anyone that doesn't mind fulfilling that, position?
I do not want to do that, but Richard and Gordon, if you wanted to, that would be great. But I also going to say Hannah is not here and
Yeah,
is a
You can
very
draft her.
active.
she
She's a
is,
very active
yeah,
member.
Yeah.
yes,
And
that
She's
is
very
true.
good too. I think Richard
I
and
would.
I have both served as chairs in the past. I've done
You
two
have,
non-consecutive 2-year terms as chair.
yes.
4 years.
Um,
Done it
so
enough.
is there a possibility that we could hold off or we could table the appointment of a
Well, we
vice
can all vote
chair?
to have Hannah, and she
There,
doesn't.
there is a
We can all just
tradition
vote for
of,
Hannah and there you go. I mean,
of
I would second
nominating
that.
nominating someone who is not here
Right.
in good humor with the proviso that they could say no, but I would certainly nominate Hannah because I think
Yeah.
she
Why don't we say the minutes reflect that we nominate her, but she obviously has the right to
can hold off the
decline.
vote till next
Okay.
time. Yeah.
All right. So
Table
should we, so this is a nomination, but should we take a vote?
I suggest we table it,
Okay.
and that way it's sort of in place, but I'm open to
Okay.
what anybody
Yeah.
else.
That's logical. So we nominated and now we're just going to table the vote for next month for January. Okay. Any more discussion on this?
No, I assume
No-
someone will let her know that we have nominated her.
Good call.
Yeah, I can do that. Going not about chair, vice chair per se, but as membership in general. If you all know anyone who's interested, please encourage them to apply to
Yes.
the housing partnership.
Yes.
Spencer, after many back and forths, decided that it was he was leaving the partnership. So we're down, another member. And then, a little while back,
Mhm.
we lost someone else. So if you know anyone else, I haven't seen any applications come my way
Okay.
recently, but if you know anyone, please.
There are two open positions. How many? There's how many positions?
Uh,
It's supposed to be
Yeah.
11 members, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
That would be 11 members would be like a good slice out of our community too. If we
yeah.
get that many people, but there is somebody new coming on. There was just somebody newly appointed. I wish I
Oh.
could remember the person's name. Just approved a week ago or two at city council. And I know of at least one other person that has applied to come on to the partnership, but I don't know if they'll get referred or not, but I hope that they do. So yes, always looking for members. Okay. And so I'm wondering if anyone has any other business not otherwise anticipated that's coming up. Okay. And with that, looks like we
I'll
have
make a motion to adjourn and wish everybody a great holiday season and a good new year.
Thanks.
great. Yes, everyone enjoy the holiday season.
See you in
And
January.
I need a
if I
second.
could get a second, thank you.
Everybody.
And so there
I
we
need someone
go.
to second the motion.
Okay, and we don't have to take a vote on that, so all those in favor?
All
Aye.
right.
All
Sign
right.
off. Bye.
Who
Okay,
who
enjoy
wants
the
to
holidays,
stay?
everybody. All right, see you next month.
Bye.
Take care.
Yeah.
Be well,
Bye-bye.
everyone.